Jayanti. One of the fashionable concepts in the world at the present time is that of positive thinking. I think the reason for this is that we're surrounded by such a heavy atmosphere of negativity, and we see so many negative things happening that we realize that we can't continue to live in this sort of way any longer. There has to be some sort of change. And within the last 10 years or so, many different courses and books on that particular subject have been taken up. And in terms of spirituality, the essence of moving in a spiritual direction is also that of learning to think in a positive way, learning to respond in a positive way, learning to be able to recreate the self in a positive direction. We understand that everything begins inside and then moves outside. And so if we're seeing that the world has become so negative that sometimes people don't even want to look at the news on television anymore, they don't want to read the newspapers anymore, because they comment that whatever they pick up and read is just going to be negative, and that's the reflection of what's happening in the world around us. So is it that these negative things that are happening are a result of our own thinking? Or is it that because there are such negative things happening, they have led to the situation of making our mind move in a negative direction? If I understand that it's human beings who are the creators, rather than circumstances being the creators, then it implies that whatever is happening within the human being is actually giving rise to the situation outside. The state of being creates the state of affairs. And if we can change the state of being, we can automatically influence the state of affairs. We've tried very often to influence things from outside and make them come inside, but that hasn't really worked. And so what we have to do is to try it the other way around, so that we're starting inside and then allowing that to influence the circumstances outside. When I change, the world can change also. And let me change my own inner world first and foremost. And the inner world changes when I look inside and see what's happening. If I'm unaware of what's happening in my own inner world, I'm not able to direct it in any way. But looking, observing, and then recreating, redirecting is going to mean that I'm actually in a position where my own inner world is a result of a conscious choice that I've made. This inner world is then projected outwards also. So if I can experience truth and beauty in my inner world, I can learn to be the creator of bringing truth and beauty into the outer world also. It begins with a thought. Whatever is happening around us has started with one thought. Whatever inventions we see in terms of science and technology and all the amazing things that exist in the world now, all started with one thought. The power of thought is more powerful than any other energy that exists. It's faster than any other energy that exists. We place a lot of value on speed today. If you travel Concorde, you pay 4 times the amount that you would pay normally, just simply for the sake of speed. If you buy a car that drives very fast, again there's a high price to pay for such a vehicle. In the same way, our mind moves at an incredibly fast speed. Imagine something that moves faster than sound. Imagine something that moves even faster than light, and you begin to appreciate how quickly the mind moves. Sometimes they've given the analogy of a candle flame. Is it possible for the candle flame to remain still? Certainly when it's an environment in which there's wind, it's not going to be still. But yet, even in an enclosure where the conditions are fairly controlled, yet even in those circumstances, it's very unlikely that a candle flame will remain stable. The same applies to the mind. It moves so rapidly that we're not even aware of the direction it goes in. We allow it to travel in a specific direction, and after having gone down that path for a good few minutes, we suddenly stop and say, but how did I get here? I was thinking about such and such a thing. How did I find myself thinking about this thing? And so it moves at an incredibly fast rate, and it seems that there's nothing that can control it. But the path of meditation, the path of wisdom, enlightenment and knowledge, is the path of being able to look inside, see what's happening with the mind, and then learning to still it, to quieten it, and then learning to redirect its energy, learning to harness its full potential, so that I begin to use its energy in the way that is right, in the way that I choose. And so when I first start looking inside, I realize that a lot of my time and energy goes in negative thoughts. Thoughts which really have no basis in my life as a reality. Thoughts of anger, thoughts of greed, thoughts of ego, of attachment. Perhaps all these things are not even being expressed in words or action, but certainly they are the reactions that keep coming up in the mind continually. And when negative thoughts start, they come with a rush. One negative thought will come, but it will bring with itself a dozen others, and it will come with a great deal of force. And sometimes it will come with such force that although my conscience is telling me I shouldn't be doing this, yet still I do it. And so negative thoughts very often lead to negative behavior. For example, if there's displeasure in my heart, if I'm irritated by somebody's behavior, if I learn to switch the direction of my thinking, and instead of focusing on that which I'm labeling bad or no good, I start looking at the positive attributes of that person. I start looking at the specialities of that person. What I need to do is to switch it around from negative to positive. If I can do this successfully, I'm able to save myself and others a great deal of pain, because negative thinking leads to a lot of sorrow and suffering. If I don't manage to do this, because I lack that wisdom or I lack that power, then what's going to happen is that after the state of displeasure, it's going to build up to a state of irritation, and after a period in which I try and contain that irritation, it then comes out. It'll come out in the way I look at that individual, it'll come out through my eyes, perhaps it'll come out in my words, it'll come out in my speech, and by then it's not only irritation, it's actually outright anger. And so from negative thinking, it's actually become very negative action, and it's going to cause a return of that karma in which at some point of time, having given pain, I will have to receive pain also. The path of meditation teaches us to look inside and see what is the cause of my negative thinking. What are the ingredients that are making me respond with negative thoughts? Why is it that I have desires that multiply I can't wear 2 pairs of shoes at one time. I've only got 2 feet. I can only wear 1 pair of shoes. What am I going to do with a dozen pair of shoes in my closet? It's not going to be doing me or anyone else any good. And so what I have to do is to change my perception, change my attitude, change my thinking. And one of the easiest ways in which to do this is to change my thinking from a physical consciousness to a spiritual consciousness. The world is made up of both sides, the spiritual and the material, but when I think on a spiritual level, I'm thinking in the awareness of the spiritual being, the soul. I'm looking at others with that same vision. I'm allowing God to influence my thinking. It becomes very easy, firstly, to pick out what it is that is negative, which aspect of negativity it is that has come, and it's equally easy to turn it around and look at it from a different angle so that I don't see negative things any longer. It sounds as if it's magic, and in a way it is, because it works so quickly. Switch from physical consciousness into spiritual consciousness of the soul, and anger will disappear, because your heart will be flooded with that awareness of peace, and you'll want to share that peace with others. Greed will disappear, because you'll be filled with a state of contentment, which is latent within the spirit. You'll actually be able to feel this emerging, so you'll know that you don't need any of those things that you were chasing before. Every aspect of negativity can be eliminated just simply through this awareness of who I truly am, the awareness of the soul. Having dealt with negative thoughts, there's another level of thinking that we become aware of. At the time that the soul is trapped with negativity, it isn't even aware that there are other stages that it needs to deal with. But the next stage that we need to deal with is the stage of wasteful thinking. How much of my time goes in thoughts I can't control, but thoughts that I really don't need to have at all. Thoughts that are connected with nothing to do with my responsibility, or nothing which is actually within my own sphere. Thoughts that are actually related to the behavior of others, but they are responsible for that, not I. Waste thoughts also come because I don't like the way things are happening. I have a certain expectation. I have a certain desire and hope how I feel things should happen. And when I find that they're not happening in that specific way, I get very disappointed. And then the trigger for waste thoughts is why, what, how, if, but. Think back over your experiences and you'll see that anytime these little words come into your mind, then they cause a huge drain on your inner strength and energy. The way to go beyond waste thoughts is to learn that within this eternal world drama, there is a reason for everything to be happening. Nothing can happen without a reason. Everything within the universe is absolutely delicately balanced together. Everything within this human body is in a state of perfect balance and coordination. If one little muscle is pulled by a percentage of a millimeter, there's pain. If one little nerve slips a fraction, it causes intense injury and pain. And so whether outside or whether in here, we see how everything is put together in a highly organized and sensitively balanced method. And so certainly, in terms of whatever is happening within the unlimited drama of the cosmos, everything is happening with rhyme, with reason, with purpose, with object. The only thing is that I'm not clear enough to be able to perceive that. And this is why all these questions and storms arise in my mind, and it leaves me feeling so depleted, so weak, that I'm unable to cope with the circumstances in front of me. One of the lessons of spirituality is that I have to have faith not only in myself, I have to have faith not only in God, but I also have to have faith in drama, that whatever is happening is right. It is right for this to happen in this way at this point of time. Tomorrow it'll change, and the change might then be something that is more pleasurable for me, but there's no guarantee for that. As things change, I might find it even more of a challenge trying to cope with the change, and then I want to go back to the situation that existed yesterday, which at the point that it existed, I didn't like, I didn't appreciate. But what I have to understand is that the drama is moving in a very precise and accurate direction, and I have to train my mind to be able to understand it and accept it and move along with it. The drama cannot be inaccurate. And if I lack the understanding of the drama, then it's my mind that moves in an inaccurate way. So to get back to the state where I fill myself with energy, with spiritual power, I have to keep my mind working along the track of drama, understanding the significance of every scene, understanding the lessons that this scene of drama is trying to teach me, and then I'll come to a point of stability where I don't lose and waste huge amounts of energy. And of course, one aspect is the drama, the other aspect is the question of responsibility. I have to learn to discern very clearly. If it is my responsibility, it is right, I give it time and attention and energy. But if it's really not my responsibility and I can't influence things, then it is best that I conserve my energy and I don't let my mind move in that direction. The third factor in terms of waste of energy are all the thoughts of the past. We forget about living in the present moment, and we get carried away by the tape recording that we carry in ourselves, and we rewind that again and again, and those scenes of the past are enacted and replayed again and again. And so either we get trapped by the patterns of past thinking, or we begin to allow our minds to fly off into the future and with imagination about what the future holds, because I don't know the reality of the future, and so it must be imagination, that I move off into those realms of fantasy and I cause myself endless worry and anxiety. Nothing has actually happened, but I've created a whole scenario that's already causing me a huge amount of anxiety and fear. And so waste thoughts means thoughts about the past, thoughts about the future, and to make good use of my energy, let me focus on the present. Yes, I learn the lessons from the past, and in terms of the future, I do that which is right, that which is constructive. Then I know that I have planned for the future properly. I have done all that I can in the right way, And so I don't need to worry about the future anymore. The present will determine a very beautiful future for me if I approach the present in the right attitude. So let me deal with negative thinking, let me deal with waste thinking, and then let me also deal with thoughts of weakness. Weak thoughts come about the self, in which I begin to doubt myself. Weak thoughts come about my life situation, and I wonder, is it really possible for good things to happen? In the morning I begin the day and I have thoughts of very beautiful awareness, and yet as the day passes by I begin to feel that it's not really possible for those thoughts to be realized, and so weakness comes in and I don't allow my own good thoughts to take practical form. So let me learn to have a great sense of faith so that I go beyond weak thoughts, and I know that it is the will of God that good things should happen, and so God's power is going to be with me to make that happen. So let me go beyond weak thoughts. I'll then come to the stage where my thoughts are powerful, my thoughts are positive, and my thoughts are now pure. When there are weeds, there can be thousands of weeds. But when there are flowers, you don't usually see thousands of flowers, you see just a few flowers. And so negative thoughts and waste thoughts are like the weeds that was littering the garden of my mind. I eliminate those, and now the few thoughts that arise are pure, powerful, positive, like the beautiful flowers. If I can train myself to have positive thoughts for even a few minutes each day during meditation, the influence of that will last through the day, so that through the day also it will be much easier for me to have a positive vision and a positive attitude. Let us spend a few minutes together in meditation, creating powerful, pure, positive thoughts. Sitting comfortably, I look at my own inner world, and I see a garden that has a few beautiful flowers, but yet many, many weeds and even some thorns. I know that I am the gardener. I must tend to this garden within me so that it's able to share fragrance and freshness and beauty. I remove all negative thoughts by focusing on good things. I focus on my own original state. Originally, I, the soul, was pure. Purity is natural to me. I was clean. I was flawless. I was perfect. This is my original state. Purity and perfection. I keep this awareness and let it grow so that I accept my own highest state as belonging to me. And I come back to the consciousness of my role in the physical world, but I bring back with me this positive vision of myself, of my own state of purity. Om Shanti.